Hello and welcome to I24 News Sports Weekend Edition with some of the biggest stories in the world of sports this past week. The dramas in the football transfer market dominated the headlines. There were some big names on the move, but the most interesting transfer was the one that did not happen. For nearly 2 months, Manchester United and Real Madrid have been negotiating the move of David de Gea from England back to Spain. Only in the final minutes of the final day did they reach an agreement, but the people in Madrid were unable to open the file that came from Manchester on their computers. The deadline went by and the transfer is off. Michael Friedman follows this rather embarrassing story.
The final day of the transfer window was successful for some and a complete embarrassment for others. And the biggest fumble of them all happened with two teams you would least expect. The long and stretched out David de Gea saga, which was supposed to take the goalkeeper from Manchester United to Real Madrid, fell apart on the last day of the summer transfer window. De Gea had his sights on a move to Spain after being unhappy with Louis van Gaal, especially after not playing and sitting in the stands this season. The Spanish sports media have described this as ridiculous, and fans are also disappointed with how this ended.
I think it makes the players look like meat in the market, and it's not very dignified. I don't think it's a very nice thing to do to the people involved. They're just pieces of chess, just being moved and have nothing to say. I don't like it.
While a deal was said to be on the table with the goalkeeper being offered around 41 million euros, a problem with the paperwork would leave the two clubs at a dead end. The question remains, what truly went wrong? With each team blaming the other for the failed transfer, everyone has their own theory of what transpired.
It's clear that this didn't happen by chance. They had it all prepared. They had the entire summer to do it, and they've left everything for the last minute, and there must be a reason for that.
So who missed out from this transfer? Real Madrid or Manchester United? It appears the Spanish giant will be able to open talks over a free transfer move next summer, saving the club millions of euros. The international break could not have come at a better time for David de Gea as he headed to his national team. And one Spaniard teammate was hoping to play with him at Real Madrid and wishes this won't distract him on the pitch.
I hope it doesn't affect his performance. We have to be prepared for this situation so it doesn't affect your performance.
After a long and baffling transfer attempt, David de Gea will remain with the Red Devils, where his chances of a starting 11 spot remains unclear.
And Michael, you're joining us. Thank you for coming.
Hi.
So, Manchester United and Real Madrid, something doesn't sound right. Real Madrid cannot open a file on their computer. Manchester United sending the files 7 minutes before the deadline. They don't know that CET is different than Greenwich Mean Time. And everybody knows that. It doesn't look right.
It's one of the biggest sports blunders of the year. Everyone's making a joke out of it. But both of these clubs, they're so well respected, and they're professional clubs that deal with millions and millions of euros every year buying and selling of players. So how did this one go wrong remains to be the question. But it just doesn't make sense. Social media, of course, is going out. Florentino Perez is being, mocked. Everybody is looking at this and asking, how did these two guys not manage to get this through? And David de Gea, he wants to make this move. And at the end of the day, he's being stuck in a place he doesn't want to be.
Because as we've heard in your story, at the end of the day, this is about people. Yes. This is about one of the best goalkeepers in the world, not even sitting on the bench. He understands.
It's a horrible feeling for David de Gea. You have to look at this scenario and say he's the one who's going to be most affected. He's staying in a club that he doesn't want to be at. He's 24 years old, and he has many more years ahead of him, of course. But this is something that he's going to have to bounce back and, be professional and go through the motions and, hopefully become a starting player, because he's not going to want to lose out a year of his career sitting on the bench. He's too much of an important player, too strong, too much of a future for him to just sit around. And what's going on with him and Van Gaal will have to be sorted out.
Strange story, this one. Michael, you'll join us again later in the show. Meanwhile, you also followed another transfer story, one that made us realize once again that it's really all about the money. Wolfsburg was perhaps the nicest team to watch last season in the Bundesliga. They came in second, won the German Cup, and recently beat Bayern Munich in the German Super Cup. They vowed to keep their squad, including star Kevin De Bruyne, but as the transfer deadline approached, the offers just got higher and higher, and De Bruyne is now a Manchester City player.
The Bundesliga lost another big star as Kevin De Bruyne made a move from Wolfsburg to Manchester City. Despite the 2014-2015 Bundesliga runner-ups hoping of improving from their previous success, they could not say no to the sum of more than 72 million euros that City delivered. The 24-year-old attacking midfielder has excelled in Germany and will be making his return to England after not finding success with Chelsea. But the Belgium international has high hopes after being a leader at Wolfsburg.
I want to reach the highest level possible as a player, and I think the most important thing is that at the end of the season we can be happy and maybe have some titles. I think this is most important for the club, the players, and for the fans, of course.
De Bruyne made 51 appearances for Wolfsburg last season, scoring 16 times and helping his team to the German Super Cup. The striker sat in the stands on Friday and then flew on a private jet to England. But Wolfsburg managed to succeed without De Bruyne after winning 3-0 against Schalke to remain unbeaten. With goals from Bastos, Ricardo Rodriguez, and Tim Klose, it appears the Wolves can find the net without De Bruyne. Kevin De Bruyne will be joining a star-packed City squad including David Silva, Raheem Sterling, and plenty others who hope to win the Premier League title. And as Manchester City continues to succeed in the league, it is crucial for De Bruyne to make an impact straight away.
Motorsports now, and the British MotoGP race took place in Silverstone, maybe marking the end of the three-way title race, leaving just two men standing. Marc Marquez had a great qualifying session, but it looked much different when the real race began, and it looks virtually impossible for him to defend the title he won in the past 2 years. It's now all about Jorge Lorenzo and Valentino Rossi, with the Italian once again in the driver's seat. Shai Ben-Ari looks at the exciting and rainy race in Silverstone.
The British Grand Prix at Silverstone featured the new leader Jorge Lorenzo looking to continue his success after winning the previous race in the Czech Republic. Valentino Rossi hoping to reassert his dominance, and Marc Marquez seeking to catch up to the top two riders. The Honda rider drove with speed through the qualifying race and set the fastest ever lap by a motorcycle around the Silverstone circuit to take pole position.
Yeah, of course, on the qualifying practice, always you try to push on the limit and you try to do your 100%. But after FP4, the feeling with the bike was really good and I did a good rhythm. So the target was the pole position or try to finish on the front row. And yeah, when I see the first lap time with the first tire, I say, okay, here we will not arrive in 59, but we'll be close.
The drivers then got ready for the main race, and celebrities were in attendance, including movie star and moto enthusiast Brad Pitt, who took a photo with Jorge Lorenzo. Despite the race having a delayed start and rain making the conditions on the track challenging, the competitors got underway in an eventful race. Rossi would take the lead early on as the three top riders would keep the competition tight and thrilling. The race then took a turn for the worst for Marc Marquez when he fell on the 13th lap, ending his hopes of retaining the MotoGP title. After the Spaniard crashed, Valentino Rossi cruised to the finish line and took his fourth win of the season.
When I saw Marc crash in the mega screen, I slowed down a little bit, no? Because I think I have more advantage. But at the end, this is MotoGP, I think. You cannot relax. Everybody wants to beat you.
It was all celebrations for Rossi, who reclaimed the top of the overall standings ahead of Lorenzo with just 6 races remaining.
The MotoGP circuit may be the most prestigious when it comes to motorcycling races, but there's much more than just MotoGP to it, with plenty of other races around the world. One of them is the tough MXGP race, where the riders know it's time to get dirty.
The MXGP World Championship took place on the Assen GP circuit in the Netherlands and featured some of the sport's toughest and fastest drivers battling it out. The motocross riders from around the world competed, with dirt flying and riders moving through the circuit. While some competitors fell off their bikes, they were able to get back up and continue riding. Sean Simpson from Great Britain was victorious in the first race. The second race then began, and some riders got high up in the air and moved swiftly throughout the dirt. Frenchman Romain Febvre took the lead, and despite other riders on his tail, the Yamaha competitor pushed forward to win the second race and clinch the MXGP World Championship title.
You know, I cannot thank the team enough. They did a great job every day, and you know, first year in MXGP, rookie, and just won the championship. So I still don't believe it, and I will enjoy this moment for sure, and I will be stronger next year also.
The 23-year-old has now won the championship in his first season after his 11th podium result from 16 rounds of the 2015 series. This young rider looks to have a bright future ahead.
Back to football, and the European leagues are on a break for the international qualifiers, a much-needed break for two of the top teams in the Premier League. Chelsea and Liverpool both lost their last match at home. It may look like a surprise on paper, but it's not really surprising when you see what these teams have been up to since the beginning of the season. Michael Friedman looks at the two struggling clubs.
The Premier League has already featured disappointing starts for clubs who hope to be title contenders, but this is probably one of the worst. Chelsea were looking to make a statement after lifting the domestic league trophy last season, but have done the opposite with their terrible struggles in August. After 4 matches, the Blues notch up only 4 points, drawing to Swansea in their opener, losing to Manchester City, an unconvincing win against West Bromwich, and finally a shock loss to Crystal Palace at home. Chelsea have dominated at Stamford Bridge over Mourinho's 2 reigns as manager, and at his 100th game in charge at home, Crystal Palace would hand him only his 2nd ever home defeat. The latest loss was unexpected for Mourinho, who knows his team and himself were not at their best.
I cannot say that I had 11 players at the same time performing. To be fair, 2 or 3 of them, the individual performance was far from good, and you know, I blame myself for not to change one of them, because I kept him in the game for 90 minutes, and when I made the 3rd change, I realized that I needed a 4th, and I don't have a 4th.
Another club to face an embarrassing Week 4 defeat at home is Liverpool. Brendan Rodgers escaped sacking last season, but may have found a new low after his side lost for the first time at home to West Ham in 52 years. With their next match against Manchester United, the Reds will need to do everything to erase a 3-0 defeat to the Hammers.
For us, we hope to be better, our own performance level, and there'll be lots of games like that, I'm sure. So we've got to find the way in the training field in order to keep that patience, to dominate the ball, to circulate the ball quicker, in order to exploit it. And that's the nature of the season. A long way to go yet, and that'll be the job.
While Chelsea's title defense was not supposed to start this way, and Liverpool's expectations have taken a tumble, the question remains whether either side will be able to compete against Manchester City, who remains undefeated thus far. But Mourinho feels that despite their run and his team's poor performance, everything is still possible.
Good morning.
And they started well, very well. But last season Chelsea started the same or better, because we won 7 or 8 consecutive matches. And we arrive in the 1st of January with the same points as other teams. So the start is good. When the start is good, but doesn't mean that you are going all the way.
With the Premier League now off for a week due to international qualifiers, the Blues and the Reds will have to reevaluate themselves in hopes of bouncing back from a disastrous weekend.
Michael, join us again, and let's start by looking at Chelsea. I know you don't like to talk about Chelsea losing, you're a fan. Still, they have conceded 32 goals the entire last season. Now they have conceded 9. If they continue in this pace, they'll have 32 by Christmas. As good as the combination with Pedro and Diego Costa may be, if they don't solve the problems on defense, that's a big problem.
The defensive struggles that are going through Chelsea right now is most surprising. You know, you look at Mourinho, very defensive-minded manager who last year was accused of parking the bus. You know, so someone who really prides himself of keeping a clean sheet and not having goals against his squad. You know, this is something that is an issue for them if they want to be title contenders. John Terry, obviously him being out was a major problem for them as well. He's their leader, but the team's getting older in the back. Him and Ivanovic, they're both, you know, they're no spring chickens, so the young players are going to have to really step up, and they're going to have to fix something because what's going on right now with the goals that go against them, it's not working well.
A different story for Liverpool. They have scored twice in the first 4 games. One of them is a dubious goal, which obviously shows there's a problem up front. Suarez was walked away a year ago. Raheem Sterling walked away now. Also a bit of a struggle.
The lack of attacking identity this team is having right now is hurting them, because if they can't score 2 goals in 4 matches, that's not working. You know, they lost Suarez beforehand, you know, so they don't have those strikers anymore, and no one up there. Coutinho, maybe he can be the leader up top and score goals, but right now the squad, they're not getting the goals that needs to go through, and they're not looking strong enough. And when they come back from the international break, they're playing at Old Trafford against Manchester United. It will be a tough game.
Those 2 teams are nice to watch. Michael Friedman, thank you very much for joining us. And that's it for this weekend edition. Thank you for watching.